Happy Monday. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for beginners. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time that we can relax and craft together. So thanks for joining me tonight. This is the first day after our daylight savings switch over. So hopefully you guys found me again here and you didn't try last hour. So sorry for that whole switch over deal, but thanks for joining in today. Tonight we're working on the Splendid Sampler 2. We started some foundation paper pieced blocks last time, so there we go. And we're about halfway done with these. We got 4 different sections to do. This is the Iowa Star block from the Splendid Sampler 2. And we are just going to continue on this tonight. So that is the plan. Thanks so much again for joining me here. All right, so here we go. We have our 4 pieces here. Let's take a look again at what we're working on. So this is the Splendid Sampler 2 book. And we are now on the Iowa Star block. We are working our way through all the blocks. So we're done with row 1. We're kind of in the middle of row 2 here, and we still get a whole nother row here. I think we're around 31 more blocks or so out of 100 to do here. I think after this one, we'll have 30. So, all right, we have our... I'm just kind of reviewing kind of where we're at, and we have our kind of template here. We've printed out our 4 template sheets, and we have 4 pieces going at the same time here. So it looks like we've done number 1, number 2, and number 3 on each block. And so it looks like we are on number 4 here. So we are going to basically just continue our foundation paper piecing process. So we have an additional piece here. This is just where we can cut out the template pieces as we go, just to get our more easily cut out our fabric. So we'll have this nearby as well. Okay, so we'll have to kind of get into the groove of this foundation paper piecing again. So I think we'll start out by prepping our number 4 piece here. First of all, what we can see is that I have drawn little circles. We have yellow pieces, we have these white areas, and then we have these things that I kind of have half circles all over. I think, yep, that makes sense. So that represents our different fabrics. This is why it's awesome to color in your design, basically, while you work. Because, you know, when we have a month away from a project, we can jump into it a little bit faster. So we have the yellow fabric for the yellow bits right here. The circle fabric has little circles on. That's kind of like this loopy sort of part in here. And then the white is just all our blank white pieces. So our 4 piece, which is, this is labeled number 4. So the piece that says number 4 is that circle. So this is the fabric we'll be using. So I'm going to grab that, set all this other stuff aside, and let's prep these pieces. And by prep, I mean let's clean up those really kind of crazy looking seam allowances here. So to do that, let's get our cutting mat and a postcard. So just, you can use like a manila folder for this or something, but I like using a postcard, just something solid or like that doesn't like, that's not super bendy. You want this nice clean line, but you want it super thin still. And I got my little add a quarter ruler here. We'll be using that. And let's see, I still need a ruler as well. Oh, wait, no, I'm going to use my add a quarter ruler. That should be fine. Okay, so we are working on number 4. So I'm actually going to cover up everything that happened before with my greeting card, or my postcard here. And I'm going to ignore the numbers that come after. So 5 and 6 and 7 come after 4. So I'm going to pretend those don't even exist. I got 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to cover those up. And I'm only going to leave like that number 4 exposed, the one that we're working on. We're working on 4. So I'm going to fold this whole thing up along the line. And that is the seam allowance I'm going to trim. So I'm going to get my cutting glove on. Oh, Jane says, hi, I love foundation paper, or I love paper piecing, but this block gave me fits. Oh no! So let me know what part was difficult for you. I know this process takes some getting used to for sure. And I always have to kind of relearn it to some extent every time I start it up again. But was it like matching all the seams later, like putting stuff together? That kind of messes with me. All right, there's our good seam allowance. I know I went fast through that one, but we're going to do the other the other three right now. Okay, so flip over, cover up everything that happened before along the line. Let's fold back that line again. That exposes our seam allowance. So now I could use just a normal ruler and cut my 1/4 inch seam allowance, but this add a 1/4 ruler here, that's what it's called. It's called add a 1/4. It's written right on there, add a 1/4. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, add a 1/4. It has this little lip on here that's perfectly a 1/4 inch. And because I have the postcard, which is kind of stiff, I can hit this lip right up against there. And now when I cut, it'll be a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is kind of amazing. It just speeds up the process and reduces me having to measure and think, which is ideal. Oh, Gretchen says, this one was okay for me, this foundation paper piece block. The tree one with the mirror image paper piecing was really hard. I had to make it over. Oh, did we do that one yet? The tree one. Oh, we had a couple tree ones, didn't we? We had a few tree ones. One of them might have been the last project. I can't remember. Oh, Amy says, hi, hope your travels went well. It was such a fun weekend, you guys. I got to see my whole family. Both my brothers and their significant others were in town, and so we just basically got to see everybody. It was awesome. And we don't get to do that very often, so it was very, very nice. And the weather was freaking gorgeous, especially for November. I couldn't believe it. It was just a lovely, 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 lovely weekend. We drove back today, so we just actually got back maybe 2 hours ago or so. Maybe not even, an hour and a half ago. Ate some dinner, and now I'm here to hang out with you guys. There we go. There's our last piece prepped. Our last kind of seam allowance, our nice clean seam allowance prepped there. Oh, yes, Kathy says, what? An Iowa Star, my home state. Yes, so this is the Iowa Star block here. So that is what we're working on tonight. So glad you could make it in tonight. We are about, how many pieces? So we have 4 pieces left on 4 blocks, and then we gotta obviously assemble the whole thing. But it's coming together for sure. Okay, so we've done that step. We've kind of cleaned up and prepped our seam allowance. You know, after you're done with that, you can fold your piece back, the paper that we folded. Now we're going to cut our fabric. So I'm going to use this extra piece that we printed out as a template, and I'm going to just trim this little extra guy off of there. And again, this is the only reason I have this extra piece, is just to help me cut out fabric. It's not really necessary. It just takes one more piece of brain power out of the equation. And that's kind of what I really love about foundation paper piecing, is that even though it looks like this super duper intense thing, once you know the process, you actually kind of don't have to think about it at all, which is great. Oh, Charlotte says she pre-folds the lines on the paper before I do anything else. Oh, then you don't need to use the card and fold each time. Oh, I suppose that yeah, that's true, because the crease is already there. I've done that before. Maybe I just need to use different paper for that. But I get a little nervous about like the paper tearing during the process when I do that. But I don't know, maybe I don't need to be nervous about that. Man, I didn't fold this one very well, but I think we're fine still. Okay, so here's my piece. Here's that number 4 piece. I just want to double check. I just kind of want to position it where it is on the piece here. So this is the edge that is going to match up with this seam that we just cut here. So this is the edge that I want to be nice and straight when I cut my piece out here. So I just have to remember that this is the side that I want my straight edge. The rest can be like a big blob around. So let's see what we got here on this piece. I don't really have a whole lot of straight edges here anymore. They're kind of just hanging out on the edges. So maybe we'll go like right here. And maybe I'll actually just kind of trim some of these edges a little bit as I go. So the right side of the fabric is down. That's important. And then I'm going to just start matching this edge that we determined is our straight edge against like a 1/4 inch away or so from kind of some straight edges that I have on here. And actually, I think I'm going to go this direction. There we go. And then I'm going to cut a generous blob around the rest of the piece. So I go like a 1/2 inch or more sometimes, just a blob around the piece. So I try and get about a 1/4 inch from the straight edge, but the rest I do the generous seam allowance. So there's one piece. I need to do four more like that. So I'm gonna just set that aside. And you know what? Why don't I get a nice straight edge here, and that will be our straight edge for all of these. Oops. Let's get that back. I always like wearing my cutting glove. All right, there we go. But yeah, it was a lot of hanging outside just because it was so beautiful out this past weekend. Man, it has been just the nicest fall weather. It's crazy to think that it's November, just because it has been so nice. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna do a 1/4 inch from that edge, and let's just cut blobs. Theoretically, I can cut all these out at the same time, but sometimes that takes too much brain power, and I just do them one at a time. All right, so that's 2. I'm gonna put them all on top of each other in the same way, just so I know. Just another reiteration of what the straight edge is. That's 3. Oh, you don't really have to relearn. Oh, relearn paper piecing every time. Don't worry about that. I totally have to relearn paper piecing each time too. Every time you start a new block. Yep. Okay. So the corners don't look alike. They were off a tiny bit, but they're definitely off. They turned out better the second time. Oh, okay. That's a bummer. Jane, here. Hold on a sec. Let me zoom down again. Okay. So I find that the assembly, like this part that we're working on now, I think is a bit easier, the actual like paper piecing. When we assemble these 4 together, that's when it'll get a little bit tricky, and we're gonna have to pay real close attention. So maybe that part will help. We're gonna be doing like the pin method for that. That's where we really match up corners. And then when things get super bulky, like when there's a lot of seams, that can affect things too. But yeah, that's kind of, I suspect maybe that's the part that you're talking about where it got kind of difficult there. All right, so we cut our 4 pieces here. So I don't need this number 4 template piece anymore. This was literally just so I could cut these out. So that's gonna go in my little garbage pile. And okay, next up, I'm going to just take one of these, one of each, and that straight edge that we determined was, what we wanted, that 1/4 inch away from that straight edge. that is going to match up with our perfectly cut straight edge here that we prepped earlier. So we're going to, with, you know, the right side's down still, we're going to kind of move those next to each other, those straight edges, and then I'm going to fold them together so that now right sides are together like so. And let's do our little test of where this might be. So I'm going to pretend that I have sewn and folded it. And you can do this with a pin too. I'm just doing it without. And what we're going for is that our piece, like where this lands after we like fake press it, like this is still as big as our piece, our number 4 piece here, plus the generous seam allowance, and that seems pretty good. So by that, I know that my placement of where I put this is all right. And this one seems like I can see the shape through my paper a little bit there, and it's just really kind of a mirror image. It's not like some crazy weird angled triangle like this. Like this triangle one, we might have to match up a little bit better, but when it's just like a triangle that's just equal on both sides like this, it's easier to see. So I think we are in an okay position there. So this is ready to sew, but I just want to, since we're kind of assembly line doing this, I want to prep all of these all at the same time. Okay, so those are right side together, and again, I think because we cut such big pieces, we are good on our placement of these. Oops, wrong side. So right sides together. Let's match that. And our last one here. Ooh, this one feels a little bit smaller. So this one I might, I'm going to do my little test on again. Fold that up. Ooh, we might need to scooch over a hair. I cut that one a little bit small. All right, I scooched over a hair again. There, now I have a bigger seam allowance here. I think we're fine right there. Okay, so all these are matched up and ready to sew. So let's jump over to the sewing machine here. All right, and let's sew along the edge here. So I'm gonna hold this and just flip it around. I'm just holding those pieces in place, and then we're gonna sew right along that line right there. And I'm gonna reduce my stitch length, and I don't wanna go into any of the other shapes, so I'm gonna actually start right at the beginning there. And I'm gonna reduce my stitch length, so we're actually gonna have like tinier stitches, which will poke a little bit more holes in. And let's give it a go here. So a couple stitches forward. I'm gonna go back a few stitches just kind of to lock them in. All right, and then let's go forward again, and we just sew right on that line. And then I'm going to stop when I get to where I'm hitting that other triangle. So I don't want to go in there. If you do a few stitches into it, it's not the end of the world. But I'm going to try and go just to the edge and do my little back tacking. All right, so I'm going to snip these right away. So I'm snipping on the paper side, just completely cutting those threads off. Then flipping to the back, and I'm going to just snip those right off too. They're going to just totally get in our way. All right, and that is our first piece that we have sewn here. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm assembly lining all of these today because we have 4. So I'm going to just get these other ones out right away before moving to the next step. I would like to get as far as we can on this one this week. It'd be awesome to finish this block and one more, at least getting started. That might be wishful thinking, but I'm definitely in. Let's cruise through the rest of these 30 blocks that I have on this quilt. I'm at that point where I'm just kind of itching to get all all my quilt projects done. Really, they're all getting to that 80% done point, and I just want them all done. Do you guys ever get like that? Just like super antsy about projects? I'm just getting antsy about these quilt projects. Maybe I need like a small, maybe I need to interject a new small project in between working on all these, but I don't know. I feel like we've been doing that and I'm still itching to get these done. Maybe we need a big win on a project. Yeah, we just gotta get we gotta get that granny square quilt done or something. I'm ready for a big win project to be done. All right. Let's see, we have one more after this one. It takes me a little while to put my machine in reverse and forward, so that's why I pause after getting to the end. I'm just switching it into reverse. And this is our last one. I feel like this first round is always like a review for me of like, okay, wait, what's the process of this again? And then I can get in the groove of it. It does have its steps, this foundation paper piecing, but once you get going, like I said, it's awesome because, you know, I'm not measuring quarter inches and I don't know. I don't have to cut anything perfectly. I just feel like it's plays to my not having to measure, and it just can kind of relax sort of vibe once you get into it, this foundation paper piecing. And it's kind of magical still because you can do these super intricate designs. So, all right, that's our last one. Let's plop them over here. All right, I have the iron heated up. Let's grab my pressing mat. So next up, we are pressing all of these fellers. So I'm going to start, well, first of all, we're always going to want the side with the pattern on, and that's also the side that I colored. I'm going to want them face down so I don't get all that ink on my iron, but that's what we want anyway. So I'm going to start by finger pressing our piece over. So I'm pressing the part that we sewed with the finger first, and then I'm going to extend it to those seam allowances that we didn't actually sew. And then grab the iron and give it a real press there. And that's all there is to that. So that is our number 4 piece. We are actually done at that point. I mean, it's still looking like crazy blobs, right? But with every new piece that we put on, it carves away the pieces that came before. So now look at this middle piece. We got our perfect triangle there. This is our number 1 piece there, and we've carved it with our 3 pieces that came here, and now we got our crazy, perfect, beautiful triangle in the center there. And as we put more pieces on, these ones will be carved away too and end up as perfect triangles. That's what's so neat, I think, about foundation paper piecing. So on this particular piece here, we are now done with number 4, and we're ready to move on with number 5, which is this long piece here. So let's just finish up these other ones, and we'll be able to do that for all of them. So finger press first, just on the part that we stitched, and then extend it to the seams. Press. All right, that guy's done. Next up. So doing this assembly line really does make it go faster. It really only works, I think, if you, well, it works with less brain power, let's say, when you have several pieces that are totally the same. So these 4 units are identical. So it does make it a little bit easier to just assembly line it. But again, on days that your brain is totally not there and you just want to chill, going one at a time totally works too. I feel like, you delete one level of brain power by having to remember like all 4 at once. Okay, so those are done. So we did that 4th piece. We added those to all of these, and now we can move on to the 5th piece. So we're basically going to start from the beginning, where we started today with piece 4. So let's move on to piece 5. Get this guy out of the way, and I think I'm going to start off with trimming that seam allowance again. So I'm going to lay this down with this wrong side up. So here's 5. That's the one that I'm going to do next. I'm going to cover up everything that happened before. So I'm just worried about that line. And I'm going to fold that up along my postcard. That will reveal that seam allowance. And I'm going to trim that with my cutter here. My add a quarter ruler and rotary cutter. Perfect seam allowance. All right, let's do that with the other ones. Peek up here too. Oh, hey, Capel Crane. Oh, you've always wanted to try this. I have that. Oh my gosh, you have the same iron. Is this not the most wonderful iron? So I love my iron so much. It's that cordless iron. It's definitely in my top 5 favorite things for sewing and all these craft projects is the cordless iron. Like, that's just game changing if you like that phrase. But really excellent. I do love it. It does have a base that it needs to sit in to heat up, and that's connected to electricity, but like it can be far away, and I can actually use the iron often without having to heat it up again. And it's just when you don't have a cord dangling everywhere that you have to kind of keep getting out of your way when you're pressing. Oh my God, it's so nice. It's pricey, but 100% definitely recommend. Especially if you do a ton of quilting. I mean, fabric-related projects always require like so much pressing, and that it really is nice. Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, totally agree. All right. Flip. Okay. So we got these guys all trimmed, so we have our perfect seam allowance now. So I'm going to set those aside because next up we need to do the fabric. So let's analyze this. It is white. We have not colored it in with these other shapes and colors and stuff. So the white represents our actual like white fabric. So I'm going to grab that. Here's our 3 fabric pieces again. The white. So that 5 and the 6 will be this white color. Now, if I really wanted to get into it, these 5 and 6 pieces, they both look like a mirror image of each other, so I could theoretically cut them both out at the same time. Oh gosh, maybe I should just do that. I was going to just not do it that way because then it can get confusing when you do a lot all at the same time, but I don't know, maybe I just will. Maybe I'm feeling antsy. Let's just do that. So since these are mirror images, I'm going to actually fold my fabric a few times because folding it will give me a mirror. So one half of the fold will be the 6s and one half will be the 5s. It's going to be also a little, maybe I'm making this a little bit too difficult for me because we have an extra element here in that there's no right and wrong side of this white fabric. So it's going to be a little bit hard for me to like remember what matches up with what. But I think we're going to give it a go anyway. So I'm going to get my little extra template out again. So I'll just cut out the 5. Because again, it is a mirror image of the 6, and we can test that here. I think I'm going to actually trim away the seam allowance too. I know I need to add the seam allowance in, so I'm just going to do it that way where I cut it off here. Oh, we definitely, Linda's saying, what did your brother have to say about the thread conditioner and candles? So we did talk to my brother who's doing the candles. Well, we definitely want to do something something yet, so we're still working it out. But he brought, I haven't unpacked yet, but we did. I'll show you guys tomorrow. So we did get one of his candles, and it smells amazing, so I want to share that with you guys. But yeah, we'd love to do like a whole like bundle of the candles with like a kit that matches, embroidery kit. So we definitely want to do something here yet. So stay tuned for sure. I'm super excited about it though, for sure. All right, so let's keep analyzing this for a sec here. So let's match this 5 up with our 5 on here just to make sure, because once you start twirling this around and everything, it's like, oh wait, what was the straight edge that I had to pay attention to? In this case, it is this long angled side right there. That is the side that needs to have that nice 1/4 inch. The rest can be that blob around that generous seam allowance here. So I think, now in this case, remember I need 4 of these, but I want to fold this so I get that number 6 out of it too. So let's say this is our straight edge. I would line our straight edge up a 1/4 inch away from there. And if I cut this out, one side would be going one direction, and the other, since it's a mirror image, would be going the opposite direction. And that's what we want with this 5 and 6 piece. So I just want to test to see if this fold is big enough. Like if this is our straight edge, if we have to cut a straight edge here, is this a big enough blob around? And I think it is. So let's accordion fold this 3 more times. So this is the first piece of the 5 and the 6. I know if you're just starting at this is probably super duper confusing. I definitely recommend looking at our video from last time we worked on this, the first video, because that will kind of explain the beginning process a little bit. We're just kind of getting a little fancy here. Okay, well, that's the second pieces. Okay, this is the 3. And 4 pieces. Or the 3 pieces for the 5 and 6. And then the 4 piece. So let's just see what we got going on here, if we need to adjust any of this. I kind of want to just cut this all at the same time. This again is maybe a little risky doing it this way, but I think we'll get it. Let's see. Maybe I'll make this actually the straight edge. I'll cut that side first. So if our 1/4 inch seam allowance is there, yeah, I think we have enough of a blob around. So let's do this. I'm actually going to just take my add a 1/4 ruler. First, let's get our glove on. So actually, it wouldn't matter, Sylvia, if like it'd actually be helpful for this to have a wrong side. So theoretically, I could just cut out the number 5 pieces. If I didn't have the wrong side of the fabric, I could do that in an accordion fold side or a way, because I don't have a right and wrong on this. Because if I flip it, it'll be just the same. I could do this in this case with a fabric that's printed on one side and the wrong side of the fabric on the other, because I'm actually cutting out the piece 5 and piece 6 right now, because piece 6 is a mirror image of piece 5. So we're actually kind of working ahead a little bit here. But yes, I could actually just cut out piece 5 because I am using this white fabric, which doesn't have a right and wrong side. So if all that makes sense, I know it's maybe a little crazy. But yeah, so I'm doing 5 and 6 here. So all right, I got my straight edge. I'm getting that about 1/4 inch. I want my generous seam allowance here and here. And I'm going to just take this guy and cut the rest of my blob. And oops, there. It's a pretty big blob, but it works. And this is my super duper sharp scissors that lets me cut through this many layers of fabric like it's nothing. Another top 5 item here is my nice scissors. Okay, so now here is my 5 and 6 pieces, and you know what? I'm going to separate them right now so I don't mess them up. So the 5 pieces will have the seam allowance going on this side. So theoretically, if these are true mirror, if it was a right and wrong side, it would be like the 5, and then the 6 piece would go this way. Here's another 5, 6, here's a 5, 6, and a 5 and a 6 piece. Luckily, I won't get confused with the sides because these are so blobby and these are nice and straight. I will know that these are the sides that will match up to our 6 piece. So I'm going to set those aside. That's for later. All right, here are our 5 pieces. This is the side that's going to match up with our edges here. Okay, so I'm going to leave this upright, and then we don't need this anymore. Okay, let's start by matching up those seams and then folding them right sides together like so. Now here's is where we might want to do our little fold test, and here I might just do the pin test just to make sure. So it's helpful to test this sometimes. I'm going to test to see if like I place this, because I might have to place it up here or scooch down here. I'm not quite sure. And triangles, like these weird isosceles triangles, can be confusing. Like where they flip might be different than what you'd expect, basically. Unless you're really good at like flipping things around, like shape. If you have a really good spatial relationship, like can flip this over in your head and know where it's perfect. But like that's tough. So I'm gonna just guess where it should be along the edge here, and then I'm gonna flip it so I can see the front, and I'm gonna pretend so by placing some pins. I'm gonna place one up there and one down here. I'm pretend sewing along our line, and I'm going to pretend press along our line, and the goal is to have it be as big as our shape plus that generous seam allowance. But you can see here we are cutting it kind of close right here on this seam allowance, and we have a ton over here. So I probably can scooch up the line a little bit. So like I can scooch it up this way just a hair. I think I might actually do that. So let's take out the pins. I don't think I need to retest, but I am going to scooch it up just a bit. There we go. And now this should be, I should have a bigger seam allowance on this edge. So this guy's ready. I'm going to set him aside without moving it. So I'm going to set that near the machine. But I want to just do all these at once. We're going to, like I said, we're going to assembly line these guys. But I am going to test each one, I think. So let's match these up. Especially because this white doesn't have a right and wrong side, so if I accidentally place it this way, I'm going to want to not have sewn that before realizing. All right, so I'm guessing again. Yeah, I think that's fine. Although last time I had to scooch it up a little bit more, so let's err on the side of going this way a bit. Okay, let's pretend so. Do the pin test. All right, pretend press. All right, how did we do on that seam allowance? Oh yeah, we got tons of extra. Great, so this is in perfectly fine spot. Let's remove those pins. Okay, this is ready. I'll set it here. I just don't want to move. I don't want to move that white fabric. We got that placed perfectly. All right, so next up, match those edges and then fold the right sides together. And again, let's err on the side of scooching it this way. There. Okay, that's my guess. Let's do our test. I always test these oddball triangles. It can be, ooh, I'm having a hard time with this pin. It can be easier to just do it in your head, like that spatial relationship stuff, when it's like a square or a rectangle, or these triangles that are, you know, equal on two sides. Those are much easier to kind of do in your head, but these ones that are all different on three sides, or sometimes you'll even have like some weird trapezoid, those are harder to picture in your head, so those I always test. All right, we're fine here still. Okay, take out these pins. All right, we have one more, and then we can sew all these. Let's get the iron heated up again. Okay. I think about right there. Oh, Kimberly says, I love the pic of sweet boy Chad, too. Yep. Ugh. Chad Kitty. So I got to see Chad Kitty this weekend, too, which is always nice. But we had to actually bring him to the vet while we were there. This morning, actually, we brought him to the vet. I'm going to scooch this over just a hair, but I think it's good. All right. I'm going to get over to the sewing machine. And we'll see how this goes. So, but we had to bring Chad to the vet, so his face was all like swollen and puffy, and actually when that picture of him, he was just sleeping, he was just lethargic and just tired, and just his face all swollen up. We think he got in the fight with another cat, like there's some barns, some farms nearby and stuff. So he just got like a scratch on his head that got infected. So it just got all poofy and it was super gross. I won't get too into it. But we brought it to the vet and we thought maybe, Nolan says stung by a bee. We thought maybe it was that too, that he got stung by something. But the vet thought, nah, he probably got in like a cat fight. The farm cat or something came by. And it got infected, so we brought them to the vet and got some antibiotic stuff, some cream that he's got to get on for the next 2 weeks, so that'll be interesting since he's an outdoor cat and just kind of comes when he feels like he wants to honor everyone with his presence, so hopefully he sticks around for the next 2 weeks every day. But yeah, he was so sad, poor little kitty. It was just hard to see him all like sleepy and weird, but he's such a good kitty, and it was nice to see. But I think he'll feel a lot better, or that's what they said. They'll feel a lot better now, the vet. I did reduce the stitch length a little bit. So yes, so I always like reducing my stitch length on the foundation paper piecing, because that'll actually poke more holes into the paper, which will make it easier to tear off later. So I do like doing that. And if you don't end up reducing the stitch length, you'll be fine. It just might be a little bit harder to tear out the papers. later, but it won't be impossible. But yeah, poor little Chatty, all cute. Yeah, that photo that I took, it's always so hard to take photos of him, because, I don't know, he just knows when you're going to take a photo and he just moves. He's like the worst. It's so hard to take a photo. But he was so sleepy, and he was just acting goofy and tired and lethargic and stuff, so, and, you know, we called, it kind of was like that on Friday, was like the first day, and it wasn't, so we called in, but couldn't get an appointment till today, so the whole weekend he was dealing with just a hurt, swollen face. Poor little guy. Oh, Nolene says, good luck with the cream. Our Tommy is the same. Scrapes all over his face and hates being fussed over. Yeah. It was actually, that's how, one of the ways that we knew, like, yeah, Chad's not feeling well. I mean, we could visually see that his face was puffy and stuff, but he let us just pick him up, and Dad looked in his mouth to see if, you know, he had an abscessed tooth or something, and that wasn't the case. He was fine. He just got an infection from that fight. But normally he would have never allowed us to pick him up like that and like mess around with his face and open his mouth and all that. But he just kind of like was like, fine. Yep, this is happening. So, you know, and he didn't really fight back. So we're like, that's not his normal MO. But yeah, but he was still so sweet and cooperated and such a good little kitty. Okay, this is our last piece, and then we can do our pressing, and then piece 5 will be done. I think we might end with piece 5. We might get done though tomorrow, I'm thinking, at least with the pieces, just because we have number 6 cut already, so that'll make that piece go quickly. And then we just have, so we have 6 and 7, so I think we can for sure get those done tomorrow, and then, I don't know, maybe we can even start assembling that. That'd be cool. All right, so here we are. I don't need my pins anymore. I'll get those away before they end up on the floor. Okay, here are the 4 pieces. Let's get the iron out, my mat out again, and we'll press these guys. He was, yep, Nolene says, poor boy, they know when they needed a little TLC. Yep, he hung around a lot too, but you know, we had everyone was there, all of the siblings, everyone, which was so nice, and I think he wanted to be around by everyone too, so he was around us a lot. Oh no, Lana. Lana said that she had a stray wander, that his face was just gone from infection. Oh, that's so sad. Poor little kitty. Yeah, we were kind of wondering, like, man, what would happen, like, in the wild? They would either get better or it wouldn't, basically, I suppose. So we're happy we were able to get him into the vet, and poor sweet kitty. But they said, he'll get better real quick here now. It was gross, though. And I won't say more than that, but he should be feeling better now. Poor little kitty. All right. Everything that comes with an infection, that's why it was gross. But he's much better now, I think. All right, so here we go. That's my traumatic experience for the day. Is poor Poor little infected face. All right. All right, we got piece 5 done here, and tomorrow we'll do piece 6. Really well. We got a few minutes here yet. We could start prepping maybe, but it's always kind of nice to start fresh. I think yeah, I think maybe we'll just cut it done today, and then we can start 6 right from the get-go. That I always like with foundation paper piecing to do like the whole process in order. That just helps keep my brain straight a little bit. So anyway, so we'll start on 6 tomorrow. I think we'll easily be able to do 6 and 7. I know we did 4 and 5 today, and we've already prepped 6. So we could do 6 and 7, probably trim it, and dang, I mean, there's only 4 pieces. We might be able to sew this all together tomorrow. Let's kind of peek. Let's see what it's kind of looking like here. Oh, that's not how it goes. These go in the center. There we go. Like so. There we go. So still looks a mess, right? But like, but we're still carving it away. So like this piece 5 carved away, these pieces here, and remember how blobby they looked? Like, I mean, you can see on this side, they're just crazy blobs still. But now we've sliced that away, and now this side is nice and perfect and clean, right? So with each piece, we're carving it even more. So these last 2 pieces will carve out our shape, and then it won't look so weird and blobby here anymore. But yeah, it's getting there. Our little Iowa star block, I think it's going to be pretty cute. So the center area is going to be this yellow, and then the other outside piece will be white. So I think that'll be really pretty. So our last kind of color is this yellow. And actually, I think we're done with our circle pieces. Yeah, so we're done with that fabric. That's nice. Okay, you guys, I think that will be that. Yeah, and we'll work on this tomorrow. So thank you guys again. And remember, next week is our embroidery of the month. That is our Winter Love embroidery. So I'll be shipping more of these tomorrow. So there's still the whole week to get them if you wanted to work from the kits. Otherwise, there's the PDF as well, the printable pattern. I think this will be a fun one. And just sitting on top was my little tatting project that we worked on last week. I'm not quite done. I have to tuck in the ends still, and I want to starch it so it has like nice pointy little like snowflake tips to it. But that was fun. So we learned how to tat a little bit last week, and I'd like to get this done and kind of have with my embroidery, because I think they kind of go really kind of cute together. 2 little like snowflakes here. So that is the plan, the only plan for that right now. But all right, so thanks again, you guys, for joining me. I know this is the new time again now that we have like the daylight savings. So thanks. I'm glad you found me if you didn't have the time change. So awesome, you guys. Yeah, I know. Sylvia says it's really dark here now. Dark really. Here it's really dark now. Dark early now. I'm having a time reading your comment. But yeah, it's freaking pitch black so early out now. It's crazy, but we'll get used to it, hopefully. But all right, you guys. Thanks again. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Good night.